very good contest for them and a good day for Interboro. We're celebrating, of course, today the 10th anniversary of this student-operated branch. Very exciting. This was the first of its kind in the Philadelphia region, and now, of course, we have 7 of them as well since then. Thank you. We do want to, before we start, we want to welcome a few people here, too, from the credit union, Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union Board of Directors. We have Dr. Harry Jamison is here. Also, of course, a member of the Interboro Hall of Fame and other things at Interboro that he's done. So some we'll talk about, some we won't, so don't worry about that. Also, up back there, Mr. Mike Bunner is Vice President of Marketing for Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union. Unfortunately, our CEO, John Unanks, wasn't able to make it. He is actually out of the country, actually. So, of course, he is also in the Interboro Hall of Fame and instrumental in getting this student branch open. We do have some Interboro School District Board members over here as well. Mrs. Phyllis Floyd, who was here with us 10 years ago when we opened this. Welcome. And Mr. Ed Harris, right next to her. And also, Ms. Kathy Hager is here, right there in front of me, who is the president of the Interboro School District Board of Directors, too. So thank you for being here as well. And we also have Mr. Alex Charlton is here, right there. He is actually Chief of Staff for State Senator Tom McGarrigle. So thank you for being here with us and representing the senator who is busy in his first month of office in Harrisburg. So we created this 10 years ago. There were a few objectives that we had in mind. And first of all, I went back and looked back at all the things we had written 10 years ago and thought, well, what were we trying to accomplish? So there were 3 things that we wrote, 3 objectives. First was to provide students with real-life personal finance skills. Second were career and job skills. And the third was financial literacy for the entire student body and the faculty and staff. So hopefully, we think we've achieved some of that. It was really important when we met here at Interboro, and this was there were 2 schools that we offered this to at the same time. We wanted to do it, so we went to 2 schools to see who would want to do this. One school didn't, and one school did. And if you want a hint to which school didn't, you can look at the green and white balloons behind me as well. But that school decided not to do it, and this one did. I approached, also here I should mention, Peggy Wanger, who now works for the credit union, retired from Interboro School District as a business teacher. Peggy and I was a former student, but we had been doing financial literacy lessons in her classroom for quite some time, and I proposed the idea to her, and I think that was like in April. And then by June 1st, I think we had students hired, and by September we were open. So it was a very fast process. Mike Magnavita and I, our CFO and our current CFO, met with a few representatives of the board, and Dr. Michael Plattis, who was also here, who was superintendent at that time, met with him. It was interesting when we met with Dr. Plattis because he said, and I remember his words, we could bring any business into our school. We could bring Wawa here to sell coffee. What's going to make this different is the educational piece. We want the students to actually learn something. We want them to learn job skills. We want them to get an education of financial literacy. So it was really important for him, and hopefully we achieved that for you as well. And I know she wanted to be here and couldn't, is Dr. Lois Snyder. She was actually superintendent at the time when we started this program, and it was very important to her as well. And Dr. Snyder is actually on our credit union's foundation board as well now, so she was really important. Well, with Dr. Plattis' help, we really made this a reality very, very quickly, within a few months. And we also, within that time, we hired our first student interns, and we have some of our student interns with us who've come back, some from the first original class. Kevin Ricker is here. We're going to hear from him in a couple of minutes. Kevin was actually not only in that first class, but he was also the president of the student-operated branch then as well. And then also somewhere, too, is Hugh McStravick, who's back there as well. And Mike Shields. Mike Shields is here, too. And Mike is interesting because he actually went off to college and came back and now works for the credit union and went through a management trainee program and is assistant manager at the credit union now. So he's a real success story for us, somebody who started for us in high school and worked his way up through the ranks. And also Anna Kachi is here. I saw Anna somewhere. Oh, there she is. Another one of our former student interns. And Anna also works for us now as well. And before I turn this over to, where's our current student interns? Come up here, guys. So we have Steve, Sean, Eric, Kelly, and Kyle. There you are. So they're with us today too, carrying on the tradition that was started by those guys back there. So hopefully you find educational value in this and can be as successful as those people standing back there too someday. And maybe we'll have you back here for the 20th anniversary as well, and some others too, so hopefully. So what I want to do now, and also I mentioned too, the success for the program for the credit union, it's really been successful for us because once we opened this, we opened 6 more since then. And since we've opened this, we've never approached anyone and asked them, would you like one of these at your high school? They've all come to us, and they've asked us, will we do it for them? Because they saw the value of what happened here, and it became in demand. So now we have 7. We have plans to open 2 more, hopefully next year, brings our total to 9. So it's been really successful for us. And I'm going to turn it over now to the current Interboro superintendent, Ms. Bernadette Riley. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today and having this opportunity to stand here and welcome you all as we honor the credit union and having been here in Interboro for 10 years. When this opened 10 years ago, I was the principal of the kindergarten, and it was a wonderful opportunity starting in kindergarten for us to get involved in financial literacy. And we started that through the Bernstein Bears book and our children visiting the branch and participating. So I have always been a supporter of the Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union and the work that they have done to build financial literacy with children in schools, because as you know, in today's day and age, financial literacy and responsibility is very important. I think this opportunity really shows the Interboro School District motto of excellence and buck pride when you look around the room and see all the people who are here today, and how even Rick, who was an Interboro grad, and John Unangst, also an Interboro grad, started this program along with Peggy Wanger, who retired and is back helping us today on a regular basis. You might think she works here full time. I'm not sure who she's working for, but we love having her here. And also having, Dr. Plattis and Paul Gibson and Ryan now involved here as the high school principal. So it's just wonderful to have everyone here. I would like to recognize the students who are back. I knew Michael from 5th grade at Norwood School, and it's so nice to see him here, that he has continued his career with the Franklin Mint and some of the other students who have come back, and also our current students, and hopefully they will continue to work with Franklin Mint even during college and as you move through your life, because there's plenty of opportunities. So I want to thank you all. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to continuing this partnership that we have, and enjoy. Thank you so much.
There's a couple of other people, too, who I want to recognize who were here 10 years ago, and thank you, Bernadette, for that as well. Paul Gibson, who was principal at the time, is back. Of course, still works for the district, but came back today for that, so thank you. Next to him is Joe Zeminski, who was our facilities manager and helped to get this built, so thank you for coming back as well. And I think back there is Elaine. Elaine Palandro is here. She was the first intern coordinator here 10 years ago as well, so we have a picture later we're going to recreate with getting all the people who were here 10 years ago, and most of them are back here for that, so that's really exciting for us. And somebody else who is back here is going to say a few words now. There he is. Kevin Ricker, our former original president of the student branch, would like to say a few words. Kevin.
So I'll try to keep this brief. I'm told I have until 1:29 before the bell rings and the hallways fill with kids again. And I can say kids because it's been 10 years since I've been here. I just want to start off with a brief anecdote. So when I travel outside of the Philadelphia area, either for work or pleasure, vacation, what have you, and people ask me where I'm from, I say, I'm a Philly guy, I'm from Philly. And I say that because Philadelphia is the obvious point of reference for someone who's not from here. But the truth of the matter is I'm not a Philly guy, I'm a Delco guy, and more importantly and more specifically, I'm an Interboro guy. So with that in mind, I just want to say it's so great to be here in front of all of you, people, Mrs. Wanger, that was my business teacher, and then I worked with her, and Mr. Gibson and Dr. Plattis, and people from FMFCU. It's just so great to be here, and so thank you Phyllis. Thank you for the privilege of standing here today. Just a brief background about me. So as you probably have guessed, I graduated from Interboro 2005. Prior to that, I spent 1st through 8th grade at Prospect Park School, and I lived, Mr. Mullen, and my parents still live right across the street over there, right off of 16th Avenue in Prospect Park. So we have a pretty deep connection to the community, and Interboro and Prospect Park are very important to us. After graduating from Interboro, I went to Temple University, majored in business. I graduated with a degree in finance in 2009. And from there, I went to work for a company called Johnson & Johnson. It's a large multinational healthcare company. You may be familiar with our consumer goods products, which is Tylenol, Motrin, baby powder, baby lotion. But we also make pharmaceuticals and medical devices, so it's a pretty big company. And I went through what's called the FLDP program, which is the Finance Leadership Development Program, which is a 2-year management training program, I would imagine similar to what Mike did with the credit union. And the idea is to give new college hires broad-based experience across the company in different divisions and different sectors to kind of get the breadth of what the company does so that we can be successful in our careers at J&J. So I did that, and after coming out of that, I obtained my CMA, which is Certified Management Accountant. It's kind of the poor man's CPA, if you've ever heard of it. And I consider myself very fortunate to work for such an iconic and prestigious and well-known company, and even more so to have gone through such a selective and rigorous training program there. And I consider that especially in the context of when I graduated from Temple, which was in 2009. And really what that means is I was looking for a job in fall of 2008 if I graduated in spring of 2009. And if you recall, that was at the height of the Great Recession. And so I would say that probably, if I'm saying in groups of 3, probably 2 out of every 3 of my classmates did not graduate with jobs. And if I'm doing a back of the napkin analysis, probably 1 out of every 3 still did not have jobs, even 1 or 2 years after we graduated. So I reflect often on what made me different. Why was I so fortunate to get such a good job coming out of college in the worst recession since the Great Depression? And some of it was probably luck. Some of it was probably preparation. But some of it was also because of what happened here. And I just have to say that I'm so grateful for the experience that I had here, for understanding how to conduct myself in a corporate environment, and for understanding how to be held accountable for business goals and to even have simple business conversations with people. Working at J&J, you'd be surprised how many times I see co-ops come in who are older now than I was then, and don't understand any of that. So having that experience really helped me through the interview process with J&J, and I actually followed up with the hiring manager after the fact and asked her why she picked me and not someone else. And this was definitely high on the list of things that she mentioned. She liked the experience that we had here. And enabled me to have great conversations with her during the interview. So I will always be forever grateful for the experience that I have here. And I know I'm way over time, but I just have to say one more thing. I distinctly remember the first time that I had a conversation about maybe participating in this program. And ironically enough, we were coming back from an FBLA conference, Future Business Leaders of America, in Pittsburgh. And the bus pulled into the parking lot. We got off the bus, and Peggy Wanger was there. She was still teaching here at the time. And she approached me and said, there's this company called the Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union, and they want to open a student-run branch here. And the president and CEO, he's from Prospect Park. He's an Interboro guy. He's very passionate about this community, and he wants to do it here. And would you be interested? And I said, well, 2 things came to mind. My first thought was, yes, of course I'm interested, right? Even at 17, I understood that this was a good opportunity. But the second thought that came to mind was, well, what the heck is a credit union? So I had to go home and look it up. And I say that story because it might sound familiar to some of you in the room, and that's the same story that John Unanks, the president of the credit union, tells when he got the call to work for the credit union initially. So I always get a chuckle out of the fact that John and I both had the same reaction when we were called to work for this company, albeit in very different capacities. So, and also I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge John, especially in front of the board members here that are present here. John has been a personal mentor and champion of mine for as long as I've known him, which is now 10 years. So I'm forever grateful to him personally for that also. He's a great leader and a great visionary. So with that, I'll thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin. I also, too, before we end, I do want to thank our current principal here at Interboro High School, Mr. Ryan Johnston, as well. He has the task of being our current partner and keeping this branch going. So, and that's a nice thing, too, after 10 years, and we've had, I think that's pretty steady administration here over those years and school board members, but just to see the branch continue, even though we've changed principals, and we still manage to keep the program going and keeping it better all the time. So thank you for having us here today. We do appreciate it. So now we're actually going to, I think we're going to take a few pictures, and we're also going to rededicate with a